So thank you for joining us. Like I said, my name is Emmy Henley. I am the managing director of the Reform Alliance. Tonight we have Dr. Smith with us from the Arkansas Department of Education, who is going to answer some questions about the education freedom accounts. Um, First off, can we just start with the basics? Do you have anything that you want to start with, Dr. Smith, like the applications that are open now, how many you guys have received, when the deadline is for that?
Yeah, great. Thank you. First of all, welcome everybody. Good evening. Thank you for taking some time to spend a little bit of that time with you. I know it's family, it's busy, it's summer starting, crazy sports and soccer and baseball and all the fun things and swimming and all that fun stuff. So again, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to be here, to be part of this program tonight. Thank you to Reform Alliance for hosting this webinar tonight. We certainly appreciate you guys and all that you do to support school choice in our state. As Emmy mentioned, my name is Darrell Smith. I am part of the Office of School Choice, the office that oversees the Education Freedom Account. Most of you all know that, but just in case, I thought we'd just give a little brief introduction. So, as Emmy mentioned, this is our fourth year of the program. Second year, we're going into our second year of universal eligibility, which means that everybody in the state of Arkansas that doesn't attend a public school is eligible for the Education Freedom Accounts as long as you live in the state and your student is 5 by August 1st. Didn't check the numbers this afternoon, but as of this morning, we were well over 50 plus thousand applications. I think 52, 53,000 applications at this point. So that's quite a few. Somewhere around almost 28, 29,000 of those applications come from private school students. So you can do the math there and figure that's somewhere around 24, 20, somewhere like 24, 25,000 are roughly homeschool students. And so it's almost a 50-50 split so far this year. Last year, we were about a 60-40 split. So a few more homeschoolers have decided to, at this point, we think, have chosen to join our program this year. So we are super excited about all the great things that are coming up here in our second year of universal eligibility. So, probably the biggest thing you need to know is to tell your friends that if they don't get in by June 1st, which is next Monday, so Monday at 11:59, I believe, the application portal closes, and so it will not open again until March of 27, going it for the 27-28 school year. There are some minor exceptions to that. People who move into the state or military families or law enforcement families. So there are some exceptions to that for opening up. But for the most part, as of June 1st, that's the last day that we'll be accepting applications for the 26-27 school year. For you all that are homeschool families, which I'm assuming is most of the people on this particular call, also another big date that you need to mark on your calendar is June 1st, not only because the portal closes, but that's when the NOI portal opens. So that's the second part of eligibility, or not, I guess not really eligibility, but in order to complete your registration and to complete the enrollment process is to make sure that that you fill out your notice of intent to homeschool. You can find that on the DESE website. It's really easy. It takes probably 5 minutes or so to fill out per child, if that. And so it is a very, very basic form. It doesn't ask for a lot of super crazy information, just some basic demographic information on you and your children. And that's really just from a state standpoint, so that that your school district knows that you are planning on homeschooling and that they shouldn't be looking for you on their rolls. And so that starts June 1st. We need you to complete those NOIs by August 1st to ensure that you're ready for your first payment, which is, I believe, the first quarterly payment, I think, is August 21st. So those are a lot of dates that I'm throwing at you. Basically, June 1st is a big date. We close one thing, we open another. August 1st is the next big date. So that's the last day that we can ensure that you will be ready to go for the August 21st first disbursement. Anything after that, we'll see. I mean, we'll do our best to get you ready to go for the August 21st, but your payment may be delayed. So something that you can pass on to your friends. that they need to get in if they haven't gotten in, and if they have gotten in, they got to make sure, to go ahead and get those NOIs completed if you still intend to homeschool. I see that Spencer put the link to the notice of intent in the chat, so certainly want you to take advantage of that. If you need that, go ahead and copy it so that you have a access to the notice of intent. All right, so that's the basics. What you got now?
I like it. Thank you so much. Yes, and we will be sure to send out reminders for parents on our social media, website, emails, all of that. So if you have any questions, if we're not sure, we're happy to reach out to someone with the department. So we have questions that we've gathered some from like our field team, and then I also wanted to let everyone know that's on the call, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So if you do have questions now as we go through all of that, we will be taking those just, throughout the call. So if you have anything, please put it in there and we will do our best to get to everything. If we don't get to your question, you can email us and I will ask Spencer to put our email in the chat. And then you can send that over to us and we will be sure to get that over to Darrell. So our first question, we're just going to start with some general questions about like the funds use. So the homeschool families, like you said, are going to be the ones that are on this call. So they are making individual purchases with their EFA funds rather than paying just a single invoice to a private school. So why does the approval and reimbursement take so long? Can you tell us what are some of the time elements that go into considering those requests? And then what does the standard process look like and how might that be changing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And so I think just the nature of homeschool education is done in pieces, where in a private school it's tuition, we get the whole payment, and then everything's kind of all inclusive once you get that payment. Where a homeschool, you're buying curriculum, you're buying the supplemental materials, and typically you're not buying them all at the same time. So most of the time, the reason you get multiple or homeschool families have multiple requests is because that's just the way they're educating their children. And so that kind of just the nature of the beast a little bit, and just the nature of the educational model that you all and the families other than you all have chosen. And so. We do understand, though, at the same time that there has been a big lag this year, and we understand that. We recognize that's not something that we were anticipating. Just to give you a rough idea, last year there were roughly 14,000, a little over 14,000 families in the EFA program. This year there's just over 44,000, so a 200% increase in participation, and roughly I think around 16, 17,000 homeschool families. So almost half of the homeschool families in our state are part of the EFA program. On average, the homeschool families, I think, submit somewhere around 15 or 20, maybe 25 receipts every quarter. So that's almost 100 a year. So you can kind of start adding that up, and it adds up pretty quick. As of I think about 3 weeks ago, I haven't checked the numbers lately, but we were well over 600,000 submissions that we've had to review. So there's a couple things going on with that. So first of all, that's just a lot. There's 600,000 of anything is a lot, and because of that, I mean, um, a lot of those, and I don't know the exact percentage, but let's just say right now, probably 45% of those are probably reimbursements. If you take out the tuition payments to private schools and take the ones that are left, probably over half of those are reimbursements. Reimbursements take a little bit longer because you have to look at every item on the receipt. You have to look for every dates, and we have a vendor, and we have to make sure all the items line up. Then we have to make sure that what's on the bottom of your receipt is the same number that uh, you put into class wallet. So there's just a lot of things that we have to look at. So it's a lot slower process. We have a staff that works diligently to work through those. To get through as many of those submissions as they can on a given day. I mean, on average, we have individual people that are running somewhere around 1,500 reviews a week, and so that if you can again add that up, that's 200 or 300 a day, and so anyway, there's a bunch. So there's a lot of volume there. Now let's take the volume out of the piece of the puzzle and the staff size. I think we've got right now 5 or 6 people doing that. So That means, again, doing the math, that each one of those people have done somewhere around 100,000 reviews since the beginning of the school in July. But like I said, let's take the volume piece away from that because there is volume. We do have a smaller staff. We are working harder to put more people into the program, more people on our staff, so that we have more reviewers. That will help. We're anticipating hopefully at least a few more to be added to our staff. Second thing is that we were expecting Class Wallet to produce some technology that was going to help us review faster. In September or October of this past year, that never materialized, and so we've been kind of fighting an uphill battle with a lot of that since mid-fall. Um, we've been having some serious conversations with Class Wallet about this needs to get fixed, then needs to get fixed immediately, not only for the EFA staff, but for you, because we realize that a 45-day wait to get your things in is not good. It's not acceptable for us. Just to give you a little bit of context, earlier in August, probably August, September, our EFA program was the most efficient as far as processing applications. We were getting things done somewhere around 20 to 22 days, so well within the a 30-day window, which and that's our goal is to try to keep it within like one credit card cycle. Because we know a lot of families are using their credit cards for reimbursements and they need to, they want to pay it off at the next month or at least at the next cycle. So we try to keep everything within that cycle. Unfortunately, and we were doing pretty good. And then again, the volume hit us, some technology didn't get realized, and so we started getting further and further behind. And so I think we've caught back up a little bit. I think we're still a little bit of a month off of reimbursements. We're under a month for direct pay and marketplace submission. So I think it's a combination. So it's volume, it's limited staff, it's limited technology, and just try, and then a lot of reimbursements. So what we're going to try, so to mitigate some of that, I know this is long, I'm probably taking longer than Emmy wants me to on this particular
No, you're
question,
fine. All
but
of this kind of plays together because we were going to ask about like reviewing a reimbursement request as opposed to like a pre-approval or something like that. So if
so
that'll
I'm just going to hit it all at one time. We're just going to hit like
perfect.
five questions here at one time.
Perfect.
So there's issues, and I'll be the first one to tell you that there have been issues, and I know it's frustrating, and I know it gets, and for some families, it's essential that we try to get these things turned around as quickly as possible. I know that. I mean, we work with that and we experience that and we have discussions about this every day about how can we make this process better? How can we use what we've got with the staff that we have, with the technology that we have available to us to be able to turn these things around quicker and constantly, weekly looking for new ways to try to efficiency. So that's the first thing. But going into this next school year, number one, we think we're going to add some staff. So that's going to be helpful. Number two, we think Class Wallet's going to provide some efficiency with some of their review technology. That's going to be much more efficient. We're if the technology that Class Wallet creates is where we hope it to be, that's going to push a lot more things to direct pay. And so those payment request features, which can be processed a lot quicker than reimbursements, will push more people towards the direct pay, and that's going to speed up the process. So there's not as many people sitting over in the reimbursement queue as there are now. So I think those three things, if that technology piece comes together like we believe that it will, if that comes together, I think we're going to get back within that 15 to 20 day, 25-day cycle where we can keep things moving relatively quick. And depending on the number of people that we can add, it may even get better. But I think most people, if we stayed in that 20-ish day, I think most people would feel pretty confident and say, "Hey, I can do that." Right? I don't mind wasting, and the direct pay would actually be even a little faster because again, that's just a payment request. If that works out, then what you'll do is you'll log in, you'll click a button, say I agree, and then everything gets paid. So because that process goes a lot faster because it's the what is being put into there by the vendor typically is going to be they'll be trained better on what's acceptable and what's not, what's an approved product and what's not. So there's not as much review that has to be done, and there's not as much not as many items that have to be looked at on a given receipt. That's the biggest issue now is that when somebody sends a receipt, if it's not a clear receipt or if it gets cut off just a little bit, then we have to deny it and send it back. The other thing we're hoping Class Wallet will do is give us like a pending thing, kind of on hold, where it's something technical was wrong. Like maybe the top of the receipt got cut off and you couldn't see the vendor's name, or we couldn't see the total, or it was blurry or something like that. So it's something really simple that could be fixed and we could turn it around really fast. But the way it's set up now, it's either an all or nothing. So if the receipt's not perfect and we can't see it, or if something gets cut off or blurry or whatever, then we just have to deny it. And then the family has to go back and start the whole process over with. We agree that it is a very clunky, it's not a very efficient process. And we, again, are working with Class Wallet to say our families deserve better than this. Our families deserve to have a system that system that works in an efficient manner. The technology is such nowadays that we shouldn't have to go through this big old manual process all the time. So we are we're doing our best to push them to get us the right technology so that we can pass it on to you, so that we can process things faster and get back into that in what we hope to be in that 20 to 25 day process, which will be again leading the nation in processing time. So that's where we're headed.
Well, that sounds exciting. I sincerely hope that all that works out. I mean, I know that we have a lot of that from parents, like just the hesitation with the program, things like that. And I know that we had mentioned the pre-approval, but we're getting questions about like, will there be a better process for pre-approval? Is this going to guarantee a reimbursement if they go through the pre-approval process? And then when you are categorizing things between co-curricular and extracurricular in the new formatting for the pre-approval, how does all that work together?
So pre-approval is one of those fun little words that so right now the pre-approval is it's a choice, right? So if you want to go through the pre-approval process, you can put it in there and you can ask say, hey, what do you think about this product? And then we'll let you know what we think. Um, as a general rule, pre-approvals will be approved. That's the point of a pre-approval is that once you say, yep, it's good, then you don't have to worry about it again. Go do your thing, submit it, and it should be good to go. The caveat to that is if we pre-approve you for a telescope that's $200 and you submit a receipt for $500, well, okay, you are approved for a $200 telescope, not for a $500 telescope. So, do I say that every pre-approval is always going to be approved? I would be a little bit misleading, but as long as you stay close to what you were pre-approved for, then yes, it's almost an automatic. I would say 99.8% automatic on the current pre-approval process. Going forward, the rules are changing just a little bit. There's a little phrase in there called core educational expense, and the best way I can help you understand or picture what a core educational product or expense is think of a bullseye, right? Like a target, and then that little red dot right in the middle. So the core educational expenses is that red dot. That's curriculum and all the things that tie to curriculum, some technologies, the software, the pens and the pencils and the notebooks and the workbooks and all those things that tie directly to your core, what you're teaching your course. And then the next circle is those things that are somewhat tied, but they're not directly tied. Like they're not necessarily required, but they're really almost necessary in order to get a full holistic education. And then the further away you get from that center dot from the bullseye, the more likely it's not a core educational expense. All right. I would say probably that in my little world here, those first two rings are going to be core educational expenses. Beyond that would be a non-core educational expense, right? So the new rules will probably technically go into effect 6 months after the rules become official. So hopefully that's July. So that would be somewhere around January. We'll start the process sooner to get people used to it. So, but I think by law, I think it technically or by rule will go into effect for officially 100% in 6 months after the rule is applied. It says that any non-core educational expense will have to go through this reimbursement, this pre-approval process. We are working on a much quicker, much more useful pre-approval process than what we have now. We're hoping that part of it we can standardize some of it, that we can automate some of it so that you can type in what you need. It will give you a fairly strong confidence score that yes, this is an approved product. Some can be automatic just based on depending on what it is. And then you'll get some kind of a notification, email, something that says, yes, this product for $200 has been pre-approved. And then you'll submit that with your order, whether it's direct pay, reimbursement, or something like that. So we anticipate the pre-approval process to be much, much better and much more efficient than it has been this year. So we realize that with the rule change that we're going to have to get a better there's have to be a better system in place because again, we're looking for anything that can bottleneck the system. That's one of those that could bottleneck the system. And so we're working through either from a personnel standpoint as well as from a technology standpoint on how to make that process more efficient so that um, again we don't get bottlenecked and you have to wait 30 or 45 days to get your payment.
Okay. I think that was helpful. I like the visual. So one of the most common questions I think we see or we hear from parents is will, X be approved? So even with the new rules coming and all of those, this answer always seems a little bit like it will depend. So if you have a high schooler and you're ordering a Bunsen burner, that's obviously something that they might need for a specific class. But if they have a kindergartner, obviously that would be a little bit harder of a sell there. So, can you tell EFA families how to better understand what will be approved for their student or what they can do to expedite those approvals?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I will be the first one to say that I think there's been a lot of confusion, about what is approved, what's not approved. Seems like some things are, some things aren't. And today they were, today, tomorrow they're not. It's not really that way, but I know how it can seem that way. I think the contextual illustration that you gave is going to always be there, right? Because when you just say that when you're talking to us, if you say I want a Bunsen burner for a ninth grader, that's a lot easier than say I just want a Bunsen burner. Because
Right.
there's the follow-up question to that, right? So there's the contextualization of every item's always going to be there, regardless of how great the system is. So there is always a little bit of a it depends in the answer. However, we do acknowledge the fact that we've got to be more clear about what is and what isn't, and how to and then for those things that may be in the gray area, how can I get answers quicker to those things? So a couple of things. We're going to do a better job of putting better information out there in a more clear way about what is and what isn't acceptable, what kind of categories would be acceptable and eligible or not. Using that bullseye, I think probably you'll see a lot of that bullseye next year of here, this is a core educational expense. This is kind of a level two, level three, level four, level five type expense, and here's what you can expect for those type of things. And here's the type of documentation that's going to be needed for those types of items. And so be much more clear about what is it that we're looking for on a reimbursement receipts to make sure that you can get through on the first time. I think the two biggest changes I think for next year to help families with understanding what's approved and what's not approved, what's eligible, what's not eligible, is this ordinary and necessary framework that's going to be put out there. And you'll see we're going to really want to lot you'll hear this a lot, and we're going to do a lot of training. We're going to have a lot of graphics and diagrams and things that should make it really, really simple. So the ordinary necessary framework basically it's how we make decisions. And so we want to basically get you in our head. So ask the same questions that we're going to ask that you, so you can ask those questions to yourself as you're on Amazon shopping, saying, okay, I want to buy this for my, son's, math class. Is it going to be an acceptable, eligible expense? Well, here's the questions you need to ask. Ordinary. Is this something that is ordinarily used for a student who's learning this particular subject in school, right? Is this an ordinary item? And with ordinary, is it a reasonable cost item? So if I'm studying astronomy, a telescope may be an ordinary item for studying, in astronomy in an astronomy class, but a $2,000 telescope would not be a reasonable cost for a high school student to study, astronomy as far as a class, right? And so that's the ordinary. The second part of that is necessary. Do you have to have it? Is it necessary for you to do this, to take this class, right? And we've got a couple of questions that go along with that. When you see the rules, if you go look at the rules, at the very end of it, it gives you some really good definitions of ordinary and necessary. It talks about there's 3 or 4 questions under each one that we ask, related to each one of those categories. We're gonna start putting more information out there. The other thing that we hope to do is have a little bit more of kind of a chat bot that has a lot of this information already loaded in it, a little AI type thing, so that you can type in $200 astronomy for a ninth grader taking, a $200 telescope for a ninth grader taking astronomy, and it will kind of spit out, yes, that would be, there is a high degree of likelihood that that would be an approved expense, some things like that. So you can ask the system if that's going to be an approved system, and to at least give you a pretty good idea whether that's going to happen or not, or whether that's going to be an eligible expense or not. Then, I would say don't ever trust anything 100%, but it's going to give you a pretty good degree of confidence of what is or what isn't as we start putting more information in there, and as it starts learning the type of way that we think and the type of products that we approve a lot of, it will get better. So as the year goes on, if again, this is one of those kind of hopefully the class wallet type things all develop like it's supposed to. If it develops like it's supposed to and it learns like they say it's going to learn, then by the end of the year, we're going to have a pretty sophisticated model there where you can ask questions relatively pretty good, complicated questions about the rules and get a fairly confident answer back. So I think the ordinary necessary, a lot more clear communication from us. We realize that I think, unintentionally have muddied some of the waters on some things, and we need to do a better job of clearly communicating to you all what is and what isn't, and how can you find out, and a little bit more of a customer service mentality or place for you to go to find out if those things are approved or not. So we anticipate having a much better communication process, a much clearer information being given to you all, and then also some new technology we hope to allow you some kind of self-service and looking at it on your own.
Okay, awesome. So just kind of like in that same vein, we've gotten a couple questions from people on the call. Is there a plan to clarify any tech limits and what are they currently and then what will they be? And then with the new reimbursement rules, do they have to get pre-approval for recurring expenses that have been approved in previous years? So for non-approved vendors, such as subscription services, monthly classes, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so let me tackle the second one first.
Okay.
So the as far as once you get something approved, it's on the list, right? So now if you were approved this year, more than likely we want you to get approved once this following year, and then once you get approved, then you're done. Like you don't for these recurring subscriptions, once we've approved that subscription once, we're good, right? Most of the time, if it's most of the subscriptions are very educational in nature, so they're really easy to approve. They're very tied to a curriculum. It's supplemental. It's reinforcing, and it goes through relatively quickly. So once we get that subscription process started, we're good. And again, a lot of you all have chosen to do the annual subscriptions and just pay it all at once. So you get your quarterly payment, you pay the 300 bucks, you get it for the year, and you're done. And that's certainly our preference because we get you taken care of. We make one invoice and we don't have to see that invoice 12 times. And then that's 12 reviews versus one review. So we're always open for paying any kind of annual subscription at any time that you can do that. So remind me it was your first question. So let me remind what
Yeah, no problem. So it was just any plan to clarify any technology limits. Like,
oh,
what
great.
are they
Yes, thank
currently?
you.
What will
Right.
they be, or is that changing?
Yeah. So the new rules say that there's $1,000 limit on technology per year. Right now, that's all technology. So yeah, I think in one of the years, might have been years two, I think it was in year two, I think, where we were like, you could spend $200 on a printer and $300 on this and $400 on that and $800 on this. And it got really kind of crazy. Talk about muddying the waters. So that was kind of muddying the waters. And so the new rules basically clean that up a little bit. So you get $1,000. You can spend $1,000 on technology. And again, the rules kind of spell out what technology is. And then that's it. So you get $1,000 a year for technology, and it makes it kind of clean, pretty easy to do, and for the most part, should take care of most families' technology needs. Now, if you're in a very special, excuse me, a very specialized course of some type, especially for those that are in high school, maybe they're in a architecture class, and they need a CAD software, and that's just really, really expensive software to be able to function maybe for a college course or a dual credit course, and it pushes you over the $1,000 limit. So you can ask for a waiver, I guess, for the lack of a better term, to extend past that $1,000, but there's going to be some justification that's going to be required to do anything past the $1,000. If you have a students with special needs that need special equipment in order for to learn, a note from the doctor or from the therapist that shows, hey, this student needs this particular technology in order to do their work, to be, to learn efficiently and effectively. Then that, certainly we can go over the $1,000 for that. So $1,000 is the limit with some exceptions.
Right. So it will also depend on the case.
All depends. No, that
I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, different students have different needs. That's the whole point of this program. So,
yeah,
there
absolutely.
were students that we know that had to get special keyboards because they could only type with one hand. I mean, those things are different needs, and not everyone would have those exceptions. So, um, okay, so I did have one last question just kind of in this, and then we'll move on to some questions that we got about sports and rollover funds. But what would you suggest for parents who are in the program right now? Like, do you have a cutoff for when their all of their requests have to be in before the end of the school year? Because I think that the system is shutting down July 1st, just for a minute, and then anyone who is going into next year either renewing and they may have funds that are rolling over, or new students, like how can they kind of be prepared so that they can get all of their ducks in a row and not wait until the first funds drop before they're able to submit anything or kind of get the process started.
Yeah, so that's again a very good question. So there's I guess there's two, if you're let's just start with the existing parents first. If you're an existing parent, any receipt that or yeah, any receipt that you turn in and submit through Class Wallet by June 30th will be reviewed. All right, and we'll in July we'll get that done and get everything turned around as fast as we can. As you mentioned, from July 1st to July 30th, we will not take any more submissions. So you won't be able to submit your receipts for whatever until August 1st. Now, doesn't mean you're not going to can't submit them. It just means you can't submit them in July, right? So what we will guarantee you, anything that we receive by June 30th, we will process. And then we're going to stop, and then we're going to pick up again on August 1st and start the process again. So it's just a kind of a pause. Number one, to help everybody get caught up so we all start at the ground zero. Number two, we've got to make a changeover from the 25 from one school year to the next school year, make sure we get all those things taken care of. So there's just some technical things that we have to do, kind of internal things we have to do behind the scenes to make that happen. So everything by June 30th will process. If you don't get it in by June 30th, don't worry. You can still do it, but you just have to wait till August 1st to turn it in. So that's these existing families. New families, if you're new to the program this year, so 26, 27 will be your first year in the program. You can't submit receipts until after your first quarterly payment, which is August 21st. Now, you can buy stuff before that, but we won't process your receipts until you get that first quarterly payment. So, and you can't buy things before July 1st. So, if on June 30th you decide you want to buy, $1,200 worth of curriculum, and then on August 21st you give us that receipt. That's not in the program rules because it has to be into the new school year, which is July 1st. So wait till July 1st. Anything after July 1st, you can submit on August 21st and be reimbursed for it. So I think there's just a little bit of a caveat. Everything's going to get processed. It's just when will it get processed? June 30th is the cutoff. Guarantee you'll get processed, but probably by mid-July. If you don't get it in by June 30th, you'll have to wait till August 1st, and then we'll start that whatever 25-day process starting August 1st. New families, you won't be able to submit anything until August 21st, but you can be reimbursed up through anything after July 1st. That's a lot of dates. Basically, June 30th, August 21st are the two dates you got to remember. So, right,
I
I
was
guess
we'll
August
have to put
1st.
a
So,
we'll have to put a chart together. We'll send
yep,
out reminders.
that's
Um,
it. Speaking about clarity, right? Like clarity. Remember those dates.
yes, yes, yes. So like new families, can they use the pre-approval process just in case they're like getting ready for the funds drop? I know that they can't spend any money or submit for
Absolutely.
reimbursement, but if they
Yeah,
go through that process, do they have to wait till July for that as well?
no, you can always use the pre-approval process. So I will say this, we're probably, I mean, July is probably just think of it as kind of a dead month for all
Okay.
practical purposes. Like, so we're not going to probably do a lot of processing. I mean, we're going to finish up what we've got, but we're probably not going to do a lot of new stuff. So August 1st, honestly, you can still be approved. Like you can turn get your pre-approval in, and we'll look at it on August 1st and beyond to and get you ready for an August 21st. Or if you really like, hey, I need to get I need to see if I can buy this thing so that I can get my students started August 1st or July 15th or whatever day your particular school, whenever you start truly starting school. I know a lot of homeschool families do year round. If it's just something like that, then give us a call, email us or something. We'll do our best to try to get your questions answered. Just know that curriculum and anything associated with curriculum is always approved. We don't scrutinize whether we think it's good curriculum or bad curriculum. That's on you as a parent. You make that determination. So if it's directly related to a course that you're teaching in math and science or English, one of the graduation requirement type courses, then it's always going to be approved. So you don't need to worry about, do I need to get pre-approval so I can go to get my Bob Jones curriculum or so that I can go get my Becca or so, you don't need to worry about that. Curriculum and all the things that are associated with curriculum are always going to be approved. It's when we start getting a little further out in those, supplemental things and extras, that's where it gets a little bit grayer.
I just know how my brain works. So if I can process a pre-approval or submit that, I'm like, I
Yeah.
check that off, and now I don't mind waiting till August, but it's
Yeah,
not on
seriously. No,
my list
I get that.
anymore.
Yeah, and so what I would suggest you probably I'm reaching for my charger because I think it's from my computer's about to die. So when I'm moving around, you'll know why. Um, I think it's a really good idea. I mean, if you feel like there's something that you're really gonna, then ask us in June, right? If you're in the program, if you filled out your NOI and that's your intent, then you're in.
Mhm.
So go ahead and fill out a pre-approval or give us a call so that so we have that information in June, and then we can answer your question. So you'll know. That way you don't have to worry about wait till July or wait till August. You'll know, to your point, You don't have to try to like, gosh, I hope. Just,
Right.
just do it in June.
Right. Okay, good to know. So we did, before we move on to the other categories, we did have a couple questions just asking about what is the process for the new rules. I know you said that they would go into effect like when they become final around January, but is there still an opportunity for feedback on all of this, or how is that going?
Well, I mean, public comment period is over. All right. So we wrote some rules and then we put them out for public comment. Got a lot of suggestions and a lot of comments on various things. Went through every comment. We read every single one of them, all 297 of them, I believe, was the first round, and responded to them and actually made some changes to the rules. And so anytime you make a substantive change, something that changes a word, changes the meaning of something, you got to do the process again. So we put it back out for public comment. That happened, I don't know, a couple months ago. We had another 260, 70 comments, read through all of those, looked through the ones that would make a difference. And a lot of them obviously were similar, but looked through to see which ones needed to really impact the rules. So we got to that, made the changes. At this point, we didn't have any really substantive changes, made a few little minor tweaks here and there. And then at that point, it goes to state board. State board reviews it. Once state board says, okay, we are good, then the state board sends it to the legislative committee, and so that's where we're at now. And so the legislative committee meets on June the 18th, I believe. We'll go through a little question and answer with our elected officials. And at that point, they will vote to make the rules final, we hope. I mean, certainly they can hold up or ask us to look at some things again. But after that final vote from them on the 18th or 19th, then there's 10 days after that, then they go into effect. And then they're final. That's done. So there is no longer, we're not in, like I said, there's no public comment at this time. So I don't know that there's anything that's going to where anybody can make a direct comment, but certainly, I mean, if you feel very strongly about something, I would certainly uh, encourage you to talk to your legislator.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so a lot of questions we've gotten about sports as well. I know
Well, and
that
I appreciate you waiting 43 minutes into this thing to ask that question.
I'm very sorry. Um, so I think just some clarity is needed. So,
Yeah.
um, the limitations that are being put on the extracurricular spending, there have been some concerns about different activities like music instruction or art lessons. These are just examples. If you can shed more light on the distinction between co-curricular and extracurricular with those, and the rules have their definitions and examples, but is there a handy like rule of thumb you could use as to illustrate?
Yeah. So think of co-curricular as um, choir, fine arts, debate, STEM, classes that students would probably take in school that aren't related to math, science, English, history, foreign language, those type, right? So those are your curricular courses. Those that we call those core courses, graduation requirement courses, those types of things. Think of co-curriculars as what in school you'd consider an elective. Right.
Okay.
So those would be more your co-curricular type courses. That's probably the best way I can probably describe that. So there is no cap on co-curriculars. There's no cap on the amount of spending that you can do on choir or band or music or any of those things that would be in the fine arts or in STEM or world languages, anything like that. I think I've actually got the rules pulled up. Let me see. I can tell you probably exactly what it sounds like. So. So co-curriculars, an academic or skill-based educational experience contributes to the student's academic development. I'm not going to read all that, but basically it's on page 3 if the rules are going to read it. But the best way to describe it is that it's like an elective course. Extracurricular, everything else.
Okay.
right? So that's going to be anything that's not part of a co-curricular thing. The actual definition, which is not quite as long as the co-curricular one, it supports personal, physical, social, civic development. It occurs outside your formal curriculum. There's an organized structure with a regular schedule, defined expectations, has a developmental purpose that promotes personal growth, discipline, physical health, teamwork, responsibility, civic engagement, requires a student to actively and constantly participate in the activity, is conducted or overseen by a coach, instructor, mentor, or other adult with qualifications. All right. Easy way to say that, anything that's not co-curricular. So, I've heard a lot and I've done a couple of these things, some live, some webinars like this, and everybody's like, well, you're taking away extracurriculars. We're not taking away anything. In fact, we've added. So with the cap on it, really you have as many choices or more choices about what you can participate in than you did before. In fact, after the first rules came by, we actually put team sports back into the rules. So you can participate in your local little leagues or basketball leagues or community leagues and all of those things. The only restriction on extracurriculars is this travel concept. These really big like an AAU team or a travel baseball or something like that. That says your tax dollars and the public money can't go to pay for AAU basketball, right? Yes, we believe 100% in a well-rounded student, and we know that athletics and physical, activity is a huge part of a fully well-rounded child, and fully support that. I am a father of two, I mean, of a Division I athlete. I played college sports, professional sports, and so I am a 100% sports person. So we in no way want to take away sports. What we're saying is that we've got to put some guardrails somewhere. And the guardrails are we don't want the taxpayer dollars, as far as those public dollars, are not going to go to help someone play AAU basketball, nor would they if they were in private school or if they were in public school. So it doesn't matter, you can, because there's a little bit of this, well, you can do that here and you can't do that here. And some of that's just, those are educational models have some, some have restrictions, some, the plus and minuses of all the educational models. But the goal here is not to take away, is to add. So we really put things back in and expanded what you could spend your extracurricular dollar on. And so I think there's been a little bit of miscommunication maybe out there, maybe a little misinformation about what truly is happening in this extracurricular world. So it's not denying things other than a very, very small segment of elite type athletics.
So
Everything
it's
else
not,
is still a table.
I apologize.
No, no, go for it. Yeah, yeah,
I
no.
was just gonna ask, so it's not anything that involves tryouts, or is that kind of like the line that's there?
Tryouts is kind of an interesting. So the way the it reads is that it's if it's if it's a tryout that eliminates people, right? So I mean, Little League has tryouts technically,
Right, right.
right? I mean, I get out on the field and I go try out, and then they put us all on a team. That's not a tryout, right? I mean, if everybody gets to play, it's not really a tryout. It's just placement,
Right.
right? A tryout says, I got 25 people here and I'm going to pick seven of you and we're going to go play AAU basketball, right? Or we're going to go play travel baseball. That's the limitation. So it's
Okay.
really a small piece of the pie that we're talking about that really doesn't apply to most people.
Right. Yes. No. I mean, I think I have a 3-year-old. He had tryouts for soccer, so everybody made it though. So.
Yeah, so that and so in the rules world, that's not a tryout.
Right.
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 That's
Okay.
like I said, that's just more of I would call it a placement. It's like we're just going to make the teams even. So we want to have some kids that are growing a little faster that maybe have a little bit more athletic ability. We don't want to put all those kids on the same team. Right. So we want to try to spread them out in the league so that everybody has a little bit, so there's a little bit of uh, you know, um, where the teams are somewhat equal to some degree, right?
Okay.
Schools have that all the time. Schools, it's like, hey, we got all the kids in third grade want to play basketball, so okay, we're gonna divvy you guys up, and you'll be team A, and you'll be team B, and you'll be the blue team, you'll be the green team, and we go from there. So you want to call it a tryout, it's fine, call it that, but that's not a tryout based on the rules that we have.
Okay. No, that makes more sense. Okay, that wasn't so bad. So
See, not too bad.
the well, I think we'll have one more, and it's about the rollover funds. So
Yeah.
the reduction in the rollover funds went from 20,000 to 8,500. Was there reasoning behind this rule, or was it simply to make the EFA budget overall stretch farther and reach more students?
I think a little bit of both. I think, to be honest with you, I think 20,000 is a lot of money to be sitting, that's to be kind of set aside. We did some analysis and realized that, for the most part, it went from 20,000 to 8,500. 8,500 is just a little bit more than 1 year's worth of EFA dollars. So you're basically banking a year's worth of EFA funds. So for a proactive parent, that's trying to say, hey, I want to make sure that I can pay for some of those extra classes when my kids get into the eighth, ninth, 10th, up in the high school, and they're taking maybe some dual credit classes or concurrent, or maybe doing some industry certification in addition to their education. And those are a little bit more expensive. And they want to make sure they have a little extra money there to pay for it. That when we kind of looked at a student from ninth to 12th grade and said, okay, in addition to the $7,200, $7,300, roughly that you're going to get every year, right? How much more would you need in order to get industry certification or to get an associate's degree or something like that? So again, if you do the math and you get, let's just round it up, make easy math, 7,000 a year, that's $28,000 that you would have through your high school career. Add another, 8,500 to that, right? So that's $36,000 that you would have to spend on acceleration and doing some things of that nature. And we felt like pretty much anybody could do almost anything if you had $36,000 from ninth grade to 12th grade to make sure that your student was able to get to do the things that they needed to do. So, uh, felt like the 85 was fair. It still allowed didn't take away any options for families, which again, that's a very important part of what we do is to look at is to make sure we're not limiting options as best we can. Certainly we have to put some guardrails sometimes on spending and eligibility, and that's just kind of the nature of the game. But the goal is to take as, to limit, to make those lanes as wide as we possibly can and give you as many choices as we possibly can. That's one of those where we really felt like we didn't limit your choices at all, and still allowed you to have enough money. The 20,000, and again, if you can figure that out, if it's an extra $12,000, then we can almost put another two people into the program just by that one limitation.
Okay, yes. Um, we got a ton of questions during all this, so I know that we covered some and some are um on different topics. We will definitely send these over to you. We'll try to get some answers out to people on anything that we weren't able to get to. We so appreciate your time tonight. And I wasn't sure if there's anything you wanted to share before we wrap this up.
Well, again, first of all, thank you again for being here. I know an hour is not a lot of time when you have a lot of questions, and this is a big thing. And so we certainly want to, we want to be transparent. I think we've got two more of these coming up soon, which I'm sure you'll tell us about here on June 1st and the June 8th. I'm sure you're going to give us some information about that. I also want to say this for you all that if you're in an area where there's a number of homeschool families and you feel like you can get 20, 25 homeschool families together and you want to have a face-to-face dialogue or you want to have your own individual Zoom, I am happy to either come to your place and have this little face-to-face, if we have it, or if you, again, if that's not feasible, and you want to have a Zoom call during the day, morning, noon, lunch, at night, whatever. I just want to let you know that I'm going to make myself available to you for the next 3 weeks till June 15th or so. And say if you have a group of people who are interested and we could answer maybe some of those questions that maybe we didn't get to tonight and have a little bit more of a dialogue. I know sometimes webinars are a little more difficult because we're like they're a little more structured. But if you want to have a little bit more of a dialogue, happy to do that. Just email me. Um, it's Darrell.Smith at ade.arkansas.gov, or you can text me or call me on my cell phone, which is 501-231-2385. And happy to try to set something up with you. Again, I think it works best if there's a group of about 20 or so or more to really have a good dialogue and to have a good conversation and to answer and try to get the most questions answered at one time. Because that typically is a good number because that 20 have about 10 friends apiece. And so that 20 turns into 200. But again, I just want to make everybody know that for the next 3 weeks or so, happy to make myself available to answer any of these questions because I we want to be transparent and I want this program to work for you. I want it to be a positive for our homeschool families in our state, and for you to feel comfortable with it, for you to understand it, and for you to the best of my ability for you to provide you with the answers that you need.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're happy to help with any of that. And we do have some events coming up. So, June 13th, we have the National Micro Schooling Center coming in, and they're going to be helping with anyone that's interested in starting a micro school. If you're just thinking about it, let us know. We'd be happy to have you. And yes, there's another organization called the Arkansas Reform Alliance that is having some meetings on June 1st and June 8th. I think it's going to
Mm.
be webinars as well. Um, and then we can find that information and we will be sure to send out emails to everyone that registered for the call with a link to the rules. And then we will have a place that you can submit questions as well. And Darrell, we will definitely be taking advantage of you being available until June 15th. So be prepared.
I'm on the road. I'm ready. I got my car gassed up and I'm ready to go.
Awesome, awesome. Well, if anybody else has any questions, I know that our email is in the chat. Our phone number is 501-244-9028. You can text or call us with anything. And Britton would be happy to direct you to the person that you need. And we hope that everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good night, everybody.